Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is a new episode of Money Means Business. Today, we are going to tackle a number of economic files, and particularly, we are going to focus on the Egyptian efforts to continue with its reforms at Egypt to finalize the investment and trade reforms by September. And this was announced by His Excellency Minister of Investment and Foreign Trade, Hassan Al-Khatib, who stated that the ministry is working in collaboration with other governmental bodies to implement this comprehensive package of economic trade and investment reforms. This is going to be the core of our episode, but also we are going now to tackle or to continue talking about the results of the fruitful cooperation between Egypt and Turkey in the economic domain. Well, Foreign Minister Badr Abdel Ati was in Istanbul last June, and he received today his Turkish counterpart Hakan Fidan, and they discussed a number of issues of mutual concern, whether it's the situation in the Middle East, in the situation in a number of Middle East countries like Syria, Libya, Sudan, and others, but also they tackle the economic relations, and this is going to be one of our topics, as when Abdel Ati was in Istanbul, he met a number of the business community there, and he said that Egypt and Turkey all together aim to deepen the economic ties and increase bilateral trade from $9 billion to $15 billion. According to Abdel Ati and his counterpart Hakan Fidan, they described the relations as very fruitful and even strategic. The meetings also said that the political leadership, whether in Turkey or in Egypt, really aim at increasing the trade exchange from 9 to 15 billion dollars. Also President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi and Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan co-chaired the inaugural session of the High-Level Strategic Cooperation Council in Ankara in September 2024, and we are building on what has been achieved nearly a year ago, with more cooperation, more fruitful coordination in a number of issues of mutual concern, and particularly in the field of economy, trade, and investment. Right after the short break, we are going to continue with more, so stay tuned only on Nile TV International.
During the first half of 2025, the Egyptian economy witnessed remarkable economic and financial transformations, reflecting the integrated impact of government policies and monetary and structural reforms initiated in 2024. Amid a volatile international environment fraught with geopolitical risks, the state continued its tireless efforts to achieve macroeconomic stability and drive growth. These efforts were evident in numerous positive indicators, most notably a marked improvement in economic growth rates, a significant decline in inflation levels, a rise in international reserves, and increased foreign investor confidence. Together, these indicators are clear evidence that the Egyptian economy is beginning to reap the benefits of the government's reform policies. Egypt's real GDP recorded an annual growth rate of 4.8% during the third quarter of fiscal year 2024-2025, from January till March 2025. This clear improvement reflects a remarkable recovery in vital sectors such as manufacturing, tourism, and construction, along with a significant increase in public and private investments. The government also seeks to create 1 million job opportunities annually and implement the State Ownership Policy document, which contributes to enhancing the attractiveness of the Egyptian market to foreign investment, supporting sustainable development and improving the quality of life and services provided to citizens. Inflation rates in Egypt witnessed a gradual and significant decline during the first half of 2025 as a result of the central bank's restrictive monetary policy. the bank decided to raise interest rates by 600 basis points in March 2024, a pre-emptive move to curb inflation. This policy not only contributed to stabilizing and containing inflationary expectations, but also drained liquidity from the market, causing a decline in domestic consumption and a reduction in aggregate demand, thus easing inflationary pressures. Conversely, unemployment data indicates that it reached its lowest level during the first quarter of 2025. This decline represents an extension of a downward trend that began in the first quarter of 2024. This improvement also reflects an increase in the number of employed people by approximately 342,000 individuals compared to a decrease in the number of unemployed people by 19,000 individuals, contributing to a 1% increase in the total labor force during the same period. The exchange rate of the dollar against the Egyptian pound witnessed sharp fluctuations during the period from March 2024 to June 2025. The major shift began with the central bank's decision in March 2024 to float the Egyptian pound against the dollar, which led to a decline in its value from approximately 30.85 Egyptian pound to the dollar to approximately 50 Egyptian pound. This move aimed to address the foreign currency shortage crisis, attract new capital inflows, and eliminate the parallel market. The dollar reached its peak in April 2025, recording 51 Egyptian pound, before the pound witnessed a slight improvement during May and June, stabilizing at 49.9 Egyptian pound. Egypt's net international reserves recorded a remarkable increase during the first half of 2025, reaching approximately $48.7 billion by the end of June 2025, a historic high. This strong performance reflects the continued improvement in the country's foreign exchange resources. This increase was driven by several factors, most notably increased export revenues in the industrial and food sectors, the continued recovery in the tourism sector, and improved remittances from Egyptians abroad. Egypt's non-oil foreign trade witnessed a significant improvement during the first half of 2025, with its total volume increasing by 9.79% to $63.33 billion, compared to $57.68 billion during the same period in 2024. The data shows a clear concentration in major export markets, with exports to the top 15 markets accounting for approximately 65.82% of total Egyptian exports, led by the United Arab Emirates, Turkey, Saudi Arabia, the United States, and Italy. Foreign direct investment (FDI) inflows to Egypt witnessed an upward trend during the 2024-2025 fiscal year, rising from $2.7 billion in the first quarter to $3.3 billion in the second quarter, then reaching $3.7 billion in the third quarter, marking the highest quarterly level during the period.
Welcome back. Let's start immediately, but before we start, let me first welcome my dear guest live here in the studio, Dr. Mohammed Roshdy, our economic and banking expert. Thank you very much for being with us, sir.
Thank you for this kind invitation. Good evening.
And if you permit me, sir, I'd like to start with the main issue of our episode, or the main file, which is going to be our economic reform, and particularly with the statements which were released recently by His Excellency Minister of Investment and Foreign Trade Hassan Al-Khatib, when he said that the ministry, working of course in collaboration with other governmental bodies, is to implement what he called a comprehensive package of economic, trade and investment reforms. Just we are going to simplify it for our viewers. What's the importance in the first place of continuing with our reform program book? Because so many people, oh, okay, we did it about a decade ago, and without our economic reform programs, we were not going to be able to continue on the right path regarding our economic progress. Why now, or why it's a must to continue with that?
In a simple way, in my humble opinion, currently we are bearing the fruits of the first economic reform phase. If I can, you can allow me to differentiate the phases of the economic reforms. Actually, the first phase of the economic reform, we are being the fruits of it. In a nutshell, to simplify to our audience, one of the most important and the crucial things that recently, as far as I recall, one of the most, I would like to say, a break news for us, which is the increase on our CBE, foreign currency reserve, to reach for the first time to $49 billion. This is one of the most important things. In addition to bringing FDI, foreign direct investment, this is a reflection of what we are doing or being the fruits, in addition to creating job opportunities. As far as I recall, one of the most important things, the unemployment rate. As far as I recall, in 2013, the unemployment rate, it reached to 13.5%. Currently, it is between 6.5 to 7%. Can you imagine what, in a nutshell, those minor figures, in my humble opinion, but it reflects the first phase of economic reform, and to hammer on that we are bearing the fruits of the economic reform. In addition to enhancing one of the most important things, our ranking on one of the famous reports that any investor can see it before investing in any country, we call it the competitiveness report, and the Ministry of Investments and under his leadership, Gafi is working on this file to enhance Egypt competitiveness ranking, and we jumped a lot of ranks which reflected on the figures of the FDI. To go to the second phase, to continue on enhancing or working on what we are calling it the economic reform, this is the most important thing. Actually, it reflected on a lot of things. To enhance to enhance our positioning on the economic part, it will reflect on our ambitious plan on a lot of things. One of the most crucial things, to increase our what we are calling it the export, to reach the ambitious plan to reach $100 billion, as far as I recall, as President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi highlighted, especially focusing on non-petroleum sector. And this will come through the trade balance. We have to have a competitiveness, or to have a competitive edge, and this is it. In a nutshell, we can say it's a simple word, but to have a competitive edge, it is a huge thing that all sectors in our country should work together. Ministry of Finance, in addition to Ministry of Investments, the trade, the international
Ministry of Industry, of course, Ministry of Agriculture, all sectors. And by the way, the statements which were released by His Excellency Al-Khatib, it was after a meeting with Prime Minister Dr. Mustafa Madbouli, as Dr. Mustafa Madbouli himself, that the state is committed to remove any obstacles in front of the trade flow. So
sure, and this is started with one of the most important things, the packages of laws that discussed in the last period to facilitate things and remove what we are calling it the entry barrier. The entry barrier is quite crucial for any investor to come to any country.
Customs duty, you mean?
Not just customs duty. One of the most important barriers, which is the custom duty, the tax, in addition to the manpower. If I'm an investor, I have to have manpower. And honestly, President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi worked on one of the most crucial things, in my humble opinion, to build this country, or to build the new republic.
Cadres
Yes.
For leading not only mega projects, but also the SMEs, and to have the law of financial inclusion. This is a panoramic view, if I may call it this way, on our economy. But sir, since he mentioned the $100 billion export, let's see the opportunity to speak about the fruitful coordination between Egypt and Turkey, as the Turkish Foreign Minister Hakan Fidan was here in Egypt in an official visit, and he met, or he was received by President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, and he held also a press conference with our top diplomat Badr Abdelati, and spoke in specific about the economic side of the coin, and they both said that Egypt and Turkey want to increase the volume of trade between the two countries from $9 billion to $15 billion. How do you see the number and the increase? 70% increase, as we were chatting before being on air, 70% increase?
Honestly, this is it's 70% almost, as you mentioned when we are discussing this out of before starting our episode. It's 70%, and this is not just a figure, it's a reflection, or what we are calling it, we are bearing the fruits of the second economic reform phase, actually, to increase the trade between Turkey and Egypt to reach 15 billion, as you mentioned, which is 70%, and this will reflect on a lot of things. Especially, we have a lot of competitive edges. To turn back to our points, the manpower, in addition to the raw material, in addition to what the most important things that I have mentioned before, that President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi give them special care and focus, the education part, in addition to the health part. And in my humble opinion, if you would like to build any country, you have to invest on the country asset. And I believe that the country asset, with the direction of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, is the manpower, the human beings. And this is for that President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi started with the education file, in addition to the health file, and currently working on a lot of mega projects, starting the paving the railways, the infrastructure, enhancing the infrastructure, and this possibly
building new smart cities scattered all over Egypt. And sir, this is of course very important, but if you permit me, I want to also focus on our the competitiveness of the Egyptian product outside, and our relations with our allies to increase our volume trade. Because, for example, as His Excellency Minister Al-Khatib released these statements after a meeting with Prime Minister Dr. Mustafa Madbouli, in which he also discussed or reviewed the outcomes of his latest visit to Japan, where he met with the business community there, and he had deals and he had meetings with the business community, also to attract more investors from Japan to invest here in Egypt, or even to have their companies' activities increase here in Egypt. How do you see this, sir?
I believe this is one of the most smart things that the globe is seeing Egypt, the gateway to Africa. And any country would like to enter Africa through its gateway, which is Egypt. Why? In a nutshell, to highlight this, Africa is what we are calling it the potential or the emerging market for all other continents, actually. In a nutshell, Africa, it has the majority of the nation, they are youth, and they are calling it the youth continent, actually. If you go to the Europe, you will find the pyramid age is quite inverted, actually, and the majority of people, they are old. For that reason, they would like to have a potential market to sell their products. Accordingly, this is one of the most important things. We have the manpower, we have the raw material, and we have a lot of potential and the market at the same time, Actually, for that reason, all countries, Japan, Europe, all countries are focusing to enter Africa. And the gateway and the most potential country or the gateway, which is Egypt. For that reason, in addition to what we are calling in the economic reform, the political stability, and this is one of the most crucial things, in addition to a lot of rules or regulations that help to increase the investments,
and
which
incentives.
And
incentives,
actually.
For example, to make sure that localizing industry, which is one of the main priorities Egypt put in its agenda, all those investors or all those manufacturers, if they use from 60 to 70% of our local raw materials, they are going to have more incentives, and this is going to be a win-win situation. How do you see this also as one of the pillars on which we depend right now?
Actually, when you highlight, you hit a nerve concerning the part of putting 60 to 70% of the local components for any products included on the final product, actually. Why I'm call it metaphorically that you hit a nerve, actually, because this is not just a decision like we have to put local products. This will reflect on the entire economic wheel. How to simplify this to our audience? This is positively will reflect on what we are calling it the economic wheel cycle, starting from the SMEs part, that small and medium enterprises part, that the government and President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi is focusing on it. Why this is, and this is I would like to rename it or to say it in a proper way. This is a reflection of visionary leadership, which is President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi, to focus on small and medium enterprises. Why? Because to simplify to our audience, if you have the economic, our economic hypothetically consists of two main huge companies. If one of them defaulted, what will happen? We will lose like 50% of our economy.
And simply no economy can depend only on mega projects or huge companies. If we're going to go to Germany in Europe or China in Asia or even the States itself.
Yes.
Here, let's put it in this very simple term, the private sector.
The private sector and the diversity on the private sector. For that, I focused on the SMEs part, actually, because the diversity is quite crucial. As I mentioned, if we have two companies, one of them defaulted, we'll lose like 50%. But if we have a lot of companies, or small and medium enterprises, if one of them defaulted, this is what we are calling it, this is the organic thing. It's organic. A new company will enter the market, and this is, we'll call it the organic thing. And ABC investment, you have to diversify your portfolio. For that, the government has a visionary.
Not to put all eggs in the same basket.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And this is quite crucial for every economy. And to be honest with you and our audience, we are not inventing the wheel. We are getting the best practice globally, and we are trying it and localize it. And this is the most important thing, to fit our economy. And this positively reflect on figures, the unemployment rate, the inflation rate, which decreased, and we can see this is easily, in addition to the increase of the CBE reserves that we highlighted, the foreign currency reserve, actually, that reached 49 billion, and this is the highest.
So, since you said that, sir, let me see the opportunity of having a banking expert. How do you see the performance of the Egyptian pound in front of the dollars? And if you do have a real value for the Egyptian pound in front of the dollar, because there were experts who are saying now that despite the fact that the Egyptian pound or our local currency is performing well in front of the dollar, this is also not the real value, and the real value is much higher.
To be honest with you,
sure.
And our audience, what we are applying nowadays, which is the flexible or the flexible mechanism for the foreign exchange rate. And nowadays, as you mentioned, our local currency is enhancing, the performance is enhancing. For that reason, the dollar is decreasing slightly, and I believe when we are working more and more in terms of the export part, and increasing the export part, and decreasing the import, and focusing on small and medium enterprises and bringing FDI in addition to the part of privatization actually, this is positively will reflect on our local currency performance, and we are being currently bearing the fruits of this structure, to highlight that the holistic picture, that the performance of local currency of the Egyptian pound is enhancing slightly, and I believe that in the coming period the local currency performance will enhance a lot.
Can you give me a percentage?
Actually, this is no one can highlight a specific percentage.
Just a percentage, approximately.
You can't specify this honestly, because we are in a market, what we are calling it a flexible market, and this is which highlighted from the CBE governor, in addition to the entire ministry, because this is based on supply and demand, in addition to the external factors, and this is quite crucial.
The external factors. Let's hope that the Middle East is going to enjoy peace and stability despite all the madness which is taking place around us. Sir, returning back, if you permit me, to the industry, to localizing our industry, because it's really very important to talk about the expansion of the Russian and Chinese industrial zones here in Egypt, and to make sure that we are giving them all the facilities to have the best performance. And this is going to be, in my humble opinion, an example or a message to all other investors from all over the world to come and to follow suit. True?
I do agree with you. In addition to, when you are talking about Russia and actually in China, it comes to top of my mind the BRICS.
This is it. This is what I talk about, China and Russia, to go to the BRICS, and to go to that and to continue with the decision to deal among the BRICS members with local currencies. How we can engage all this together for the best interest of Egypt, and of course to all the member states of the BRICS.
This is one of the most crucial things to focus on, what we are calling it trade cooperation actually, or collaboration between the BRICS countries. And this is positively, by the way, to return back to the point of the foreign currency or the dollar.
Yes.
It will enhance our local currency, in addition to the ambitious plan to have what we are calling it unified currency for the BRICS countries actually. And this is what we are calling it the new economy. For that reason, Egypt is doing a lot of things to facilitate to their strategic alliances, actually, or strategic partnerships, a lot of facilities to achieve our strategic vision to enhance the economy and increasing actually our GDP growth to reach, I believe, in the coming years, to reach one of the most important things, to return back to achieve 8% and 10%. And this is, by the way, due to the political instability globally and a lot of economic crisis. As you know, and our audience, we in the last 5 years we passed with a lot globally, not Egypt, with a lot of challenges. Starting from the pandemic, Russian and Ukrainian war, actually, in addition to the Middle East instability, Israeli and Palestinian war, actually, and those things negatively.
And Israeli, even despite the fact that there were only 12 days of exchanging fire between Israel and Iran, but see how the oil prices, for example, since the very first hour after the conflict started, it hiked. and it was very much normal. So since you are of course you are fond with numbers, the Ministry of External Trade announced that the Egyptian exports hit over $40 billion in 2024. Despite all this, how do you see the number, $40 billion? We do have ambitions to double it or to even reach the $100 billion which the President spoke about, or this is completely sufficient as we are speaking in, unfortunately, a Middle East which is marred with violence, with crises, and as you've kindly mentioned, the global economy is suffering?
I believe this figure reflects on our ambitious plan that we are on the right track to double this figure, in my humble opinion, to reach 100 billion in the coming years. And this is possibly will reflect on a lot of things. And I believe we are not focusing only on one industry. We are diversifying our what we are calling it the trade balance. Commodities, different commodities in different industries, the textile part, the F&B, food and beverage, in addition to the technology. We are focusing, by the way, on the part of the technology. In addition to one of the most important things, focusing on all those industries with the part of the sustainability. And this is reflected on a lot of our industries, and you can see easily that, as far as I recall, Egypt hosted the COP27 2 years ago, or 3 years. Yes, thank you. 3 years ago.
November 2022.
2022. Yes, 3 years ago, and it was a crystal clear message from the globe that Egypt have a visionary direction in terms of the economic reform, in addition to the part of the sustainability, which is the global is focusing on it.
And focusing also on digital transformation. Digital transformation in our economy is now part and parcel of the whole process.
Yeah, especially when you are talking on the digital transformation, it comes to top of my mind one of the quotes for Heraclitus, which is the only constant in the life, the change.
Yeah.
Thank you. Accordingly, the digital transformation, will be the new era or the new world, actually. And Egypt is giving a lot of focus on this part, starting from the financial inclusion part to digitalizing all governance services, go for cashless society, to focus on the POS payment, the payments through machines and cards and contactless. Everything is transferred. Now you can see that we can pay everything through our mobile actually. This is contactless society, and this possibly will reflect on a lot of things. It is not just to go the digital part. It will enhance the services that everything will be monitored by government, and every cash, everything. And this is positively reflect on the tax part, enhancing the tax system, enhancing the services, that educational part, enhancing the health part. Why? Because in the last year, it's actually 5 to 10 years ago, like 60 to 70% of our economy was gray economy, informal economy. To make our economy actually this informal part, or the gray economy, to be part of the formal economy, this was quite crucial. And the government, the only solution for it is to digitalize everything, that everything should be digitalized. For that, they started with a financial inclusion
law.
They started with the
to
law.
legalize the issue.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And CBE, Central Bank of Egypt, as far as I recall, they issued their law 193, as far as I recall, for year 2021, and they put chapter for digital payment or digital transformation, in addition to all sectors, Ministry of Finance, by the way, Ministry of Investments actually, they did this, and you can see that through the digital solution or through online, you can issue what we are calling it the golden license. And the Prime Minister, Dr. Mabouli, highlighted this, the golden license for a lot of companies, by the way, and this is
Amen to that. In
capitalizing
addition
on.
to, if you permit me to remind our viewers that another side of the coin was the projects or companies or even factories which were suffering because of so many things, and they just announced bankruptcy, and that's it. Now their cases were studied, and they are now back to work under the governmental umbrella. And now even we hear a number of names which we as Egyptians never heard before in decades. They are now back to our market, and they are back to production. How do you see this also as something which has never been forgotten by the state or by the government?
This is a great signal that we are on, for the globe, that we are on the
Right track?
right track actually, that we are focusing to not just applying the rules, but to support all our investors. We are calling it to salvage all business that needs support, and giving them finance, for example, with special rates, and supporting the economy. And this is reflected, by the way, on one of the most important things that President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi is focusing on, it, decreasing the unemployment rate. If you focus decreasing the unemployment rate, enhancing our trade balance, and increasing our export from commodities, giving opportunities to small and medium enterprises to work, and this positively reflect on our economic wheel.
Amen to that, but also the fruitful coordination among all different bodies. I mean, here we are not working in isolated islands. When we talk about what's going on the ground, is the fruitful result of the full coordination among the different governmental and, I mean, public sector and private sector bodies. How do you see this, in addition to having our banking sector not only to afford financial services, but financial and non-financial service to continue with this symphony? I mean, to make us all playing the same harmony.
It sounds like a music to my ears once you are saying it. It's a symphony. Yes, for the first time we can see there's a great harmony between all sectors in our country, starting the public sector. All ministers are working together to achieve our strategic goals in terms of the economic reform, enhancing the economic wheel, overcoming all global crises in a great way and professional way, actually, that a lot of countries are trying, or a lot of developing countries actually are trying to know what we did to do it, or to apply it in a proper way in their countries, with a little bit of localization to fit their economy. And this is one of the most crucial things, in addition to the cooperation between the public sector and the private sector. And the maestros for those are the Prime Minister, and for sure President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, with his strategic direction to facilitate things and give his direction to all sectors to work together. In addition to
The
central
High
bank.
Council of Investment is presided over by the President.
Yes.
And he has chosen to do that to make sure that any obstacle on the way is going to be removed immediately, to make sure that we are on the right track. But here also, sir, if you permit, because unfortunately we're running out of time, I wanted to mention our economic diplomacy, because it's now, I think, in every single visit by His Excellency Minister of Foreign Affairs Badr Abdelati to any other country, or when he receives one of his counterparts or high-ranking official, of course he talks about or tackle the diplomatic issues, but the economic file all the time takes a priority or comes high on the agenda of talks. How do you see the track of Egyptian economic diplomacy?
Actually, this is quite crucial, and you can see that for the first time, we are calling it, it's a nice term, which is, we are calling it economic diplomacy. And this is, we are being the fruit of the harmony or the synergy between all sectors that we are focusing on. The economic part, you can see the Minister actually Abdel is working to have the economic diplomacy and working on the FDI file and trying to work with his colleagues on other ministers to facilitate the entry barrier for a lot of investors and giving them the figures of Egypt that we are a potential country for investments and enhancing the trade balance between a lot of countries. The last thing, which is Turkey, which is to enhance our trade exchange to reach $15 billion instead of $9 billion, which is the increased percentage, which is 70%. This is the first time I can see that foreign affairs minister is working on this file.
To pave the way for the economic executives to build on what he achieved or agreed upon.
Thank you, and this is what we are calling it, the economic diplomacy.
And we hope that this is going, inshallah, to continue, but in a better regional atmosphere. Sir, as usual, I enjoyed our discussion. Many thanks for being with us. We had the honor to have with us live in the studio Dr. Mohammed Roshdy, our economic and banking expert. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And by this, we come to the end of our episode. Stay tuned only on Nile TV International always for more. Now, I'm going to leave you with the most important economic events which took place in the past 7 days. Till we meet again, same time on Nile TV International. Many thanks for watching. This was Nurmeen Abdurrahman.
A recent report issued by a major real estate consultancy revealed that future construction projects in Egypt have exceeded $565.5 billion in value, making it the third largest construction market in the Middle East and North Africa. The report notes that the Egyptian market is witnessing a major urban transformation, supported by massive infrastructure projects and expansions in the housing, transportation and energy sectors. This reflects the state's vision for urban expansion and sustainable development. Gold purchases by Egyptians declined by approximately 20% during the second quarter of 2025, recording 11.5 tons compared to 14.4 tons during the same period last year. This decline was driven by a 23% year-on-year decline in demand for bullion and coins, recording 5.9% during the second quarter of 2025, compared to 5.9 tons during the same period last year. Demand for jewelry also declined by 17%, recording 5.7 tons in the second quarter of 2025, compared to 6.8 tons during the second quarter of 2024. According to data from the General Authority for Investment and Free Zones, GAFI, the number of newly established companies in Egypt increased by 13% during the first half of this year, reaching 22,130 companies. However, investment volume declined by 52%, reaching $2.69 billion. Dr. Rania Al-Mashat, Minister of Planning and Economic Development and International Cooperation, explained that the increase in the number of technology-based startups confirms the increased demand in the Egyptian market and the desire of many companies to obtain a financial technology license to benefit from the boom witnessed by the Egyptian economy and its transition to a digital economy. Ready-made garment exports recorded a 25% year-on-year growth during the first half of this year, reaching approximately $1.608 billion compared to $1.283 billion during the same period last year. The Ready-Made Garments Export Council stated that June exports reached $285 million compared to $199 million in the same month of 2024, a 30% increase. This brings them close to the highest monthly rate recorded this year in February, with a growth rate of 33%. Engineer Karim Badawi, Minister of Petroleum and Mineral Resources and the President of the North Africa region of the Italian company Eni and BP, witnessed the signing of a new agreement with incentives to begin exploration activities in the Mediterranean. The minister stressed the importance of leveraging the advanced technology possessed by Eni and BP to unlock new resources that will benefit the state and all stakeholders. The Chinese capital Beijing witnessed the signing of a non-binding framework agreement for the implementation of the Red Sea petrochemical project in the Suez Canal Economic Zone. The project enjoys significant competitive advantages, most notably its strategic location near the Suez Canal, the availability of production unit licenses, and the readiness of its implementation plan. These advantages make it highly attractive for investment, especially in light of the growing global demand for products such as polyethylene and polypropylene. Lieutenant General Osama Rabia, chairman of the Suez Canal Authority, affirmed that the canal is capable of withstanding all difficult circumstances and managing crises with professionalism and competence. It is the shortest and safest shipping lane connecting the East and West. Rabia called on shipping lines to return to transiting the Suez Canal, stressing that work is underway to localize shipbuilding and marine unit industries, and that the authority has the capabilities to implement projects in Africa and the Arab world.